I can give you
Yeah.
two big catalysts for
Sure.
Ethereum this year. One, there's a change to SEC where the Ethereum economy is no longer being sued. Talked about this last time with Kraken, where all these companies that were building on Ethereum had to spend very unreasonable amount of their budget on defense and lawsuits that were fugazi, let's put it that way. Next, the Ethereum ETFs, when they get staking approved, and the ETFs offer boomers a 2% yield, and Bitcoin ETFs don't offer them anything, they'll start to trend more towards Ethereum ETFs. And then finally, Ethereum is the only blockchain that is built for institutional use. So you can see if you talk to all of these massive banks in America, the bulge bracket ones, all the alternative asset managers, everyone's talking about tokenization.
Okay, well, welcome back to another episode of the UEV podcast brought to you by Advantage Blockchain. I'm Alec Beckman, joined by Whitetail Monty, Advantage Blockchain Mark, and Dill. And I'm excited to hop into it. It is January 30th, another beautiful week, almost end of month one of Q1 2025. And what's going on in crypto world, eh?
Base bounce. I'm seeing a base bounce. It's past 24 hours at least.
Looks like a nice bounce, absolutely.
We're still alive. It's not at zero yet.
We're still alive. Yeah, I heard people are launching meme coins and whatnot. There's a lot going on. I don't know. Did you guys cover Trump last week or Trump coin or is
Definitely
that brand
covered
new?
a lot. I don't think we covered Trump coin, did we?
I feel like it's been a year since Trump launched his coin, but I think it's only been about 14 days.
No, it was Friday, so it was 13 days ago. So it was the day after we recorded the last pod. And Mark is back. We're all back together. It's a big happy reunion for Advantage Blockchain and the UEV podcast.
Well, Bitcoin is holding above 100K pretty well. It touched all-time highs last week. Chart looks good. How are we feeling about the sentiment?
Feel like we've been going sideways a lot, and it's been a little while. I feel like we haven't really had that inauguration pump that everyone was expecting. So hopefully this is the beginning of the big breakout that we've all been looking for and expecting, sort of. And I don't think we've had that yet. So hopefully this is it.
Yeah, my eyes are saying zoom out. I mean, I'm seeing on the timeline. I mean, today we're bouncing up, and some things are green, but I don't know. I feel like maybe it's the more masses getting into crypto is affecting the emotions of the market more. But I feel like people are being way. I think this is going to be the weirdest cycle, and the craziest cycle. There's already a lot of emotions. It's like you see videos and sad pictures on your timeline of people upset because Bitcoin's down to 100K. And that's crazy. I mean, if we zoom out, it's like Bitcoin just reaching 100K in the past couple months has been godsend. And then now once we achieve these high prices, it's like the whole market is so short-sighted. So
Do you think that it has like new people coming into the market, whether they're traditionally in more traditional financial products, which have historically smaller gains? Do you think people are taking profits after things like 10%? And do you think that there are more people in that can't handle that downswing? Because obviously it's not just volatile up, it's volatile down.
I mean, I think 100K is obviously a big take profit number, just big round numbers, right? Free markets I think. So that's a factor. I mean, I also think there's the massive factor of BlackRock and institutions being more involved means that they can, almost legally manipulate these markets insanely, right? I mean, not having much regulations, I think, is actually playing in their favor here. And so, now that they have such an exposure, one, they're definitely, I would imagine, taking some profits while they're still also facilitating inflows. But, I think honestly, big picture, this year, Monty, I think you were just saying, I think it was you that said, you wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin actually finished with a red year. I think this is going to be the year of Bitcoin losing market dominance. I think that's a huge chart that we should, probably talk about or or pull up is really, the market dominance of BTC. And this could definitely be a year for Bitcoin to move more sideways. Yeah, maybe 20-50% up, maybe 20-50% down. Uh, but I think we're officially in alt season. And I think a lot of altcoins are reflecting that, which I'm sure we'll talk about soon.
Yeah, and one thing to keep an eye on is we're on the monthly chart right here. The RSI has broached uh, above 68.26, and previously, once it's done that into 2017, 2021 bull markets, that's when it starts to get really crazy. You see both of these pumps. So yeah, Bitcoin's pumped, but this could be just a start of it. But as soon as it gets above this and stays above this, we're in the later stage of the bull market. We're in the later stage of the 4-year cycle, and it's something to keep an eye on, especially with larger time frames. It's different if it's on the daily time frame, but as you zoom out and it starts to get the monthly and 3-month RSI above kind of the range, that's an area that's historically pretty good to take profits in.
Whitetail, why don't you help the audience understand some of these pivot points? What is the next big pivot points that you're looking at on this
Yeah,
exact chart on the upside and downside? What do you think looks important?
yeah. Here, I mean, R1, well, the pivot point, the main one's 80K, R1's 121. My gut feeling says it's a lot more likely that we touch R1 before we go back to pivot to the main pivot point. That being said,
R1 meaning
throughout,
resistance one, right?
yeah, resistance one, and like I'm not a technical analysis guy, but what I could see actually playing out throughout this whole year is that we get to R1, have some resistance, break through it, maybe tap resistance 2, and then somehow maybe there's a black swan or something that nukes us all the way down to the pivot point again. Or maybe
Yeah,
at towards the end of the year it falls through the crack in like November, December, and then there's a new pivot maybe at like 85 or 90 and it bounces off that or something.
that's crazy. I mean, your pivot points align exactly with my predictions. I've been calling 120K top, absolute maximum. I said 150K, and about a month ago, everyone was screaming 200, but I'm still holding my analysis that's been that for over a year. I think 120K will be around the top, and 150 absolute max. Really will be shocked if Bitcoin gets beyond that. And I think while Bitcoin's going up and down from there, I think that like we said, ETH is gonna be doing some action, and then all of these coins on the ETH ecosystem and the Solana ecosystem are probably gonna have their 6 months of fame.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say is, and I'm the last or least qualified in here in terms of price predictions, just because of I'm not the portfolio manager, but of what I'm seeing with institutional interest and government interest, and now you have more administrations beyond the U.S. that are pro Bitcoin, and Bitcoin being king, and the first onboarding to the digital asset ecosystem. I don't see how Bitcoin is like not going to continue to dominate this market. I understand that Ethereum has some bullish things about it. I understand the Etherealize, which I think we're going to talk about in this maybe. There's more institutional, I guess, marketing to Ethereum. I guess it's lagged behind, but I have trouble with the idea that Bitcoin's not going to continue to dominate and might even pick up on something like the Bitcoin ETH or Bitcoin to total crypto market cap dominance.
Well, then you're buying the top. So it's pretty high right now.
I'm not buying anything. I'm
Um,
I'm fully
I
allocated.
understand that perspective. I think Ethereum Bitcoin right now is like 0.03. Like that call would have been good at 0.08, but like maybe the long Bitcoin short Ethereum trade already happened, and this might be a rebound year. I mean, if we look at the Ethereum chart, it's been basically ranging for what since almost over a year now. It's been in this 4K. It's got rejected from there 3 times. It had the pivot points held really steady at 3K. Obviously it dipped down a little bit, but you can see it always closed above it. That's really important. Um, and so
Yeah, check
one
check out
good
the monthly
catalyst.
on this chart too. just to even zoom out more. Like people really can zoom out. And also, is there a way to make less pivot points? Like I feel like maybe if there were, it gets a little crowded. If there were maybe 50% less pivot points, that could be easier to see. But you know, when you really want to zoom out on things, go look at the monthly candles of a token, and that'll really show you the big picture. Everything can be absolutely soaring on 15-minute candles, 4 hours. I think one analyst on our team was showing us some 15-second candlesticks this week, which is absolute crazy trench work. But it's all perspective. Things look very different on different scales.
But where's the interest coming from Ethereum? I understand that Ethereum ETFs have done well, but Bitcoin ETFs continue to outpace on the inflows a lot. And when you look at all the institutional information out there and what people are actually selling, like in the real world, it's always Bitcoin. It's not so much ETH. There's a little bit of ETH going on, but most of the new institutions, like you look at what I think we're even going to talk about it here, but like the Czech Republic, they bought their sovereign wealth fund bought Bitcoin. They didn't buy Ethereum. I'm not saying they won't. I'm not saying they shouldn't. They should. But where like technical
I
analysis
can
is
give you I
nice.
can give you
Yeah,
two big catalysts for
sure.
Ethereum this year. One, there's a change to SEC where the Ethereum economy is no longer being sued. We talked about this last time with Kraken, where all these companies that were building on Ethereum had to spend a very unreasonable amount of their budget on defense and lawsuits that were fugazi, let's put it that way. Next, the Ethereum ETFs, when they get staking approved, and the ETFs offered boomers a 2% yield, and Bitcoin ETFs don't offer them anything, they'll start to trend more towards Ethereum ETFs. And then finally, Ethereum is the only blockchain that is built for institutional use. So you can see if you talk to all of these massive banks in America, the bulge bracket ones, all the alternative asset managers, everyone's talking about tokenization. There's only one platform that tokenization is really going to take off on, and that's because they need the security, the history, and the decentralization. Solana has definitely been the darling so far of this cycle, but in my mind, that's much more of a retail chain. As institutions continuously adopt blockchain because there's clear guidance from the US government, Ethereum will be the biggest winner there.
I totally agree. And I think Ethereum has the most use case, the most users, and the most builders. So I'm pro Ethereum, don't get me wrong. It's my personal biggest holding. But I just, and I'm not trying to be like a skeptic here, but it's just you have to look at where the institutional interest is. And I always see it from, because I almost exclusively look at where the institutions are buying, and all they ever talk about is Bitcoin. I rarely ever hear them talk about Ethereum. But I think the catalysts you provide are really great points, and that could bring in a lot of institutional interest and should.
Yeah, and I think again, as far as even on the institutional side, Bitcoin has had an additional 6 months being available, coming on before Ethereum. I think, I was just watching Kathy Woods, for Ark Invest speak about the difference between the flows. She was saying that they're both still receiving tremendous flows. She thinks that essentially the biggest difference is that institutional doesn't fully understand yet the Ethereum narrative, right? It's not so much, and I believe one of the managers from like the lead manager from BlackRock was on Bankless. I think she leads a team that manages about 6 trillion in essentially ETFs and everything. And they were speaking about the difference in inflows. And it's really, I think, the fact that Bitcoin is much more digestible at kind of current stage, just being a simple, kind of transactional currency, more similar to gold. Versus, now I think the question for this year and beyond is, okay, well, what next, right? I'm starting to get people's questions from people of, hey, now that I'm in crypto, how can I actually move this stuff around for way cheaper? Okay, that obviously goes down the rabbit hole of different blockchains, and you end up on Ethereum and on L2s, and maybe you end up on Solana. But I think that there's a lot more factors that are going to lead to essentially it's like Bitcoin is, Bitcoin, the first cryptocurrency, and, blockchain. Well, what's blockchain? I mean, blockchain is essentially everything built on Ethereum and everything Ethereum is building and more. So
I'm
I
gonna
just think
push
there's
back
way.
on.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna push back on this fact that these institutions don't understand Ethereum. I actually think that's completely wrong. If you look at all of these banks, JP Morgan, Deutsche Bank, all these banks actually have forked the Ethereum code in their internal technology stack, and they've been building on it. The reason why there's not been the adoption that we've seen is because every single company in the Ethereum economy has been sued by the SEC. The SEC literally made it a career risk, not only for your job, but to go to jail if you touch Ethereum. And I don't think people are giving that enough thought that all like JP Morgan, Onyx, blockchains, all it's an Ethereum fork. They're actually super familiar with the EVM. They know all that. They just couldn't do it publicly and they didn't want to promote it because of the regulation and the hostile environment in the US. And I
Hmm.
think people really, really don't appreciate the fact how much the changing of the guard at the SEC is gonna open the floodgates. I think people are really missing the ball in there, to
Yeah,
be honest.
I actually agree
I
with
think that's a
you, and
great point.
you're making me a lot more bullish on ETH, but that which was tough, and I know I came in here like almost like a bear, God forbid. But no, I think one thing to add on to there is like I forget who it was. It might have been very vague, like Trump's government or like the SEC or like the whoever it is. Someone is saying that they're going to consider private blockchains. They're not even going to call them blockchains. Only public permissionless blockchains will be considered blockchains under the new rules of whether it's the SEC or the whoever it is, the FTC.
Yeah,
I
I think
mean,
that was in the executive order they released.
Gotcha. Okay.
a
Very cool.
private blockchain, isn't that just a database that works a lot worse?
Nice.
What do we got here? What coins we looking at? What is
These are
going on
AB.
in the alt
These
market?
are some positions that we have in the AB portfolio. These are really our base plays. All these are actually base native projects. Now I look at it, yeah, um, they're really ranked in size that we have in our portfolio, the position size.
Yeah, we've really become a base fund, haven't we?
Yeah, I think there's an insane amount of innovation going on in base, an insane amount of acceleration. I mean, you look at the metrics, go look on DeFi Llama. It's overtaken its base layer being optimism by over 5x, almost maybe 10x by now. Um, it's beating out so many of the L2s. I think it's the clear scaling solution on Ethereum. And there's shouts out to Jesse and the whole base builder ecosystem. We're also building a variety of different kind of on-chain and usable products. But right, I think there's still so many more developers that are way more advanced than us. And shouts out to everyone for just building on this tech stack, because I think that it's really kind of turned into not even ETH versus Solana. Seems more like base versus Solana. A lot of action is moving from Solana onto base. I think Big Donnie Trump is actually kind of leading that movement and launching his coin on Solana, selling all that liquidity, and then next thing you know, his team is buying still, um, you know, 10 million ETH buys at a time. So yeah, base is a very hype ecosystem. I don't know if we want to drill into any of these more specifically. What candles do you have on here? You have 3-day candles. That's interesting. I think it's very good picture to show alternative candles. You kind of get looks that maybe some people aren't always watching. What
Can we look
what
at
do you see here?
can we look at the 15-second ones?
Yeah, can we put on the 15-second candles just for Miggles? Because I feel like those are going to be ripping. Well, there's only I don't even see 15 candles. That's an alt secondary. I don't even know if deck screener multi-charts will load fast enough. That's 15-second candles is wild work. There's also some activity going on Solana, but which we've been in the soul trenches too. We don't want people to think that we aren't. Uh, but we'll talk about some of these plays first. I mean, I don't know if you want to touch on any of these, Monty. I think BMX is kind of the star of this recent 2 week period, having some significant increases in our portfolio.
Yeah, BMX is a decentralized perpetual exchange with a unique liquidity model. Um, we're releasing an investment memo over the next few weeks, so keep an eye out for that. We're very bullish on it. It is a pretty unique protocol, and we think that it could possibly, at kind of in the second half of this year, maybe reach a similar market cap as GMX, which would be a very good return.
Nice. Yeah, it's something about BMX makes me hungry too.
Is it BLT?
Yeah, which I don't even know what that is. I bought some BMX because Monty and the and Mark said it was a good buy, but I heard BLT being thrown around, and
You you
I
were just
can't hate
hungry.
on it.
Yeah, well,
So
I guess I
Monty,
can hop
yeah, you
yeah,
want to explain
BLT.
BLT as well?
Yeah, so it stands for Base Liquidity Token. And what that does is they're adding a new trading pair really across base. Right now it was just BMX and BLT, and they recently expanded to Banker, which is an on-chain AI agent, and BLT. BLT stands for Base Liquidity Token. What it does is it allows people to get exposure to a hybrid of Ethereum or USDC. So if you think about most trading pairs on base, they're either in Ethereum, which is super volatile, or USD, which is not volatile at all. Uh, Part of our thesis is that we think that investors might want a trading pair that's kind of a hybrid of both of those, where it's like 40% USDC, maybe 30% Ethereum, maybe 25% Bitcoin, and maybe 5% something else. We think there's a chance that that's a very attractive base pair, and they've BMX recently launched on Mode, and they launched MLT, which is Mode Liquidity Token. So if they expand across EVM and really create this new liquidity pair that just investors like more, then it's kind of the best of both worlds. The TAM there is massive.
Yeah, I think suggestion from my peasant mind, if the BL team is listening, um, I do think that you start, one of my few pieces of pushback on this project would be that with BLT, when to my understanding at first it was a third ETH, a third Bitcoin, a third cash, and there was obviously option for that to change a bit. Then as time has progressed over the past year, it's started to be a sort of voting system of what goes into that. And they're still keeping it majority, partially ETH, partially Bitcoin, partially USDC, but I saw there was some AERO in there, there's some well in there. I think the more it becomes an index of other altcoins, I think that really actually hurts the value. And I would probably like to see it more actually remain uh, a hard split of Bitcoin, ETH, and cash. I think that provides like a pretty unique instrument. Yeah, there's other indexes of those coins, but to be that and then have the function in this kind of ecosystem, I think is super powerful. I understand that filling it with other things like AERO, like well, is probably a lot easier um, as far as just the providing the liquidity. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, do you have thoughts about that being flexible, Monty? You don't think that takes anything away, or raises any
I understand what you're
concern?
saying. The reason they add those basket and different weights is because the underlying tokens are used on a perpetual exchange. So like say Arrow is massive volume or Moonwell is massive volume on the perpetual exchange, it makes sense that they want to have a reserve portion of that. But I think they're pretty good at keeping the risk parameters where it doesn't get too high, and if the volume dries up, they reduce the exposure.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're good at that until they aren't, right? So it's like, what are the parameters to keep things in a sort of trustless environment rather than having to have people manage it. And also, am I correct in assuming that that's managed based on a voting system, or is it a multi-sig managing that?
Yeah, I don't think it's a voting system. It's the team choosing that. It's not like if we wanted to increase the position by 10% to AERO, they would just do that even if we owned a lot. I think they internally control that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would argue that's definitely somewhat concerning. Um, but we'll see. Not short BMX at all. Honestly, we're very long it. We're just discussing, I think, some of the complex intricacies that the system provides, which is a lot. I mean, as there start to be even more and more liquidity tokens, it's like, how many of these are really going to hold value and how many are maybe not. But very innovative structure that we've seen so far. I definitely like the ecosystem that they're building out, and Coinbase likes it too. DJ Khaled says, "I like what Drake's like. Drake likes. I like what Coinbase likes." To be honest, wait, that's what DJ Khaled said. I didn't say that. Quit looking at me like I'm Diddy,
Yo,
dog.
dog, that's a bar.
Yo, no Drizzy, no Sussy Baka. Anyways, some
Oh,
of these other guys going
I
on.
can explain the liquidity model on DICKBUTT really quickly. Just kidding. Uh, DICKBUTT's cool though. It's fun. It's a fun token.
Yeah, virtuals. Has anyone heard? Has anyone's grandma heard on CNN why virtuals might be dumping? That's crazy. What's going on with AI in America?
Has AI peaked?
Yeah, I
No.
heard some AI platform was built with $5.5 million or something. Like I heard like 17 different versions of CNN shoving that down my throat. What's going on with that?
Yeah, well,
China.
I can give a quick recap of DeepSeek if that's what you're seeking.
I've never
So
heard of that. What is that?
now DeepSeek is similar to ChatGPT in that it's a like kind of a AI language tool, or really a text tool that you can speak to and can do give you a lot of information, help format, offer suggestions, be used as a search engine, different things. And the story is that it costs a lot less to build DeepSeek, where they put out the number of 5.5 million. They also said that it took a much shorter time to actually build it. This has a lot of implications. The largest implication was the every market. Crypto actually held up fairly well considering, but the stock market took a tank. The reason, specifically the Nasdaq, the reason is that all these companies that are building and integrating with AI are spending hundreds of billions of dollars rather than a quick $5.5 million. So it made American companies look bad that were building AI. But the thought is that there's economic warfare going on between China and the U.S. So it's totally possible, almost probable that China just lied about how much money they spent to build DeepSeek, and how much time it took them, because obviously it made America and a lot of their companies look bad. So
So I actually went out this morning. AB Research released a piece talking about the vibe shift in Ethereum. Like I said earlier, that with the new administration and regulatory bodies coming in all across not only the SEC, but the FDIC and other branches as well, that the vibe is shifting in Ethereum. There's no and yes, we are winning, especially on base. But there's no threat of going to jail right now. Uh, the sanctions on Tornado Cash were removed. There's been just a lot of momentum over the past few days in the Ethereum ecosystem, and that has culminated with really a discussion between key Ethereum players about the role of the Ethereum Foundation in the Ethereum economy, and that really resulted in, I mean, these discussions blew up over the past month, but they've been forming for months, and that resulted in a new company, a new kind of propaganda machine for Ethereum called Ether Realize, which is focusing on targeting institutions. It was launched by Vivek Raman, whose background includes stops at UBS, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, I'm pretty sure, all of these traditional investment banks and bulge bracket banks. And now he is going to be, and Ether Realize is going to try to be the connector between the crypto native ecosystem and Wall Street. They don't speak the same language, and he's positioned in Ether Realize to be the translator between the two places.
That's great. It's good that we have this. We haven't had this before. This goes back to the beginning of the pod when we discussed that Ether really needs an institutional voice to draw demands, because it should. Naturally, all of the demands should be on Ethereum. I get Bitcoin is a great asset. It's like digital gold, but if you're looking towards actual financial application, you should be looking towards Ethereum. It's honestly much simpler than we're making it. And I'm glad that there's finally a company that's going to focus on this. But it's like, do you want to invest in the use case? You hear every institution in the world always, like, not every, but a lot of them will say like, oh yeah, no, we don't believe in Bitcoin, but we believe in blockchain. If that's the case, if that's true, then you should look at Ethereum. They just don't understand it because nobody in the Ethereum Foundation or nobody that's in the past worked with Ethereum has been able to explain that very simply. If you believe in any of the applications that could be used for finance, decentralized finance, instantaneous, trustless loans, different yield, beyond that, AI, cloud computing, gaming, anything that you can think of, just go to Ethereum. That's where it's all being built. And if you want to do it, if you want to build it, go to Ethereum. It's the easiest one. There's the most developers. There's the most action. So just explain that. It's so simple. And for some reason, well, it's good. Now we have it. So whatever. I'll shut up.
Yeah, clip that. And if you want to build it faster and cheaper, go to Base.
Yeah, I like that. And also, I wanted to say a quick anecdote, because you said earlier, Mark, something obviously which is true, which is like people are asking about payments, which is a great use case of crypto, and how it's much cheaper as you get down the rabbit hole. First, you look at Bitcoin, it's more expensive. You move to ETH and specifically the layer twos. I do have to say, I sent Ethereum on mainnet for the first time today in like a long time, and it was very cheap. It was only like 75 cents on my transaction. So
yeah, mainnet's definitely still improving. A simple send is definitely way cheaper as well than like a swap or executing some sort of smart contract, which is maybe still a couple dollars. But yeah, things are definitely getting cheaper. And I think as to kind of this whole wartime ETH piece and sentiment, I really think that the Ethereum community has so much pent up sexual frustration, or sorry, just normal frustration. And I think that all of this is going to show. Like, I mean, first off, do you want to buy low or do you want to buy high? Do you want to buy Bitcoin high? Do you want to buy ETH low? But on top of that, I mean, I think it's like so much progress and innovation is happening that eventually someone big who's got the power to make a signal, like say Trump or like say BlackRock, they're gonna say a couple things, and then everyone in the world is gonna realize this, and then ETH is gonna 2x 3x overnight, right? And by overnight I mean over a month. And it's like for an asset this big to have that much action that fast, it really can only happen, I mean, A, with a shit ton of capital, but, B, because there's probably a fundamental reason that it is so valuable. And I think everything that we're seeing is just, it's going to pay off. I don't see it being possible for it not to. So I think we're going to see some bambooing. It's going to look like it happened overnight, but it's been years and years of building and months and months of stacking all this research.
Cue the meme of you got lucky, the luck, and it's everything we went through over the years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we had our very own Alec Beckman featured in a CoinDesk piece recently. Can you tell us about that?
Whoa.
Yeah, this was fun.
Beckman.
This was fun. If you, I appreciate it. If you've listened to the pod at all in the past, and I highly suggest you listen to some of what we've talked about with stablecoins, because truly stablecoins have been one of the easiest use cases to date. We're one of the easiest usable use cases to date for crypto. It's one of the best ways. I've often talked about how Advantage Blockchain is a bankless organization and how we've been bankless to date and how we've been able to use stable coins to actually facilitate payments hold cash and even draw yield with some of the stuff that Monty's doing with our portfolio and what Mark has done in the past. And this is just a piece about how financial advisors, and for context, this is specifically CoinDesk's letter to financial advisors that they send weekly. I was able to contribute last week, where I just talked about different use cases that are available for stablecoins, how financial advisors can improve the financial activity of their clients by pushing stablecoins as opposed to holding cash. And then I gave an example about how SpaceX actually uses stablecoins to avoid FX risk and volatility. So cool article. I'm personally using stablecoins for a lot of my strategy. The company is, so we definitely are practicing what we preach. Would love a like on the LinkedIn post, anything you can give, but I suggest reading the article because there's a lot of cool stuff you can do right now.
Yeah, like, subscribe, comment. How is SpaceX using stables? That's interesting. I don't know if you want to give some
Yeah,
a synopsis.
totally.
Rockets are
They
cool.
can so they accept payments in various currencies, and what they do is they immediately convert all incoming payments to a US backed stablecoin, and a US dollar backed stablecoin, which avoids the FX risk. So, for instance, if they get a payment and one of the, let's just say they get some form of, let's call it the Mexican peso, for instance, and it doesn't do well that day against the dollar, then they've lost value in the currency that they accepted. So by moving it over to stable coins that are backed by the US dollar, they're avoiding a lot of the FX risk on volatility that some currencies may hold against the dollar. And by the way, the dollar is the ultimate shitcoin in terms of it is always going down in value. There's always dollars being printed, but there are even shittier coins out there in the form of other fiat currencies that can be used as payment for SpaceX. So,
And what platform is 99% of the stable coins on? Is that on
Ethereum.
Bitcoin?
That's not true. That's not
No.
true. There's like 60 billion stablecoins on Tron, just FYI.
And
Isn't
and
Tron an EVM token? Is that not considered on
I wouldn't
Ethereum?
consider, no, I would not consider that on Ethereum.
Okay. Well,
and
good to know. How that
and
being
who's
said,
who's using the stable coins on Tron?
Everyone in third world countries.
Tron sounds
Hmm.
like a blockchain network for robots.
I think that's because that is what most of the users on Tron are, is bots.
All right. What do we have here?
I thought this was
Well, this is
CNN when I
massive
first saw it.
news. This was massive news over the past week or so. Uh, I mean, it says December 16th, but it was finalized with the new SEC. Is that basically now when you buy Bitcoin, you don't have to keep it at cost. You can market to fair value. That's really important because public companies, if they're using this as a treasury asset and they have to hold it at cost the whole time, it messes up their, let's say, accounting and how they have their books. And now that they're able to keep it at cost, or sorry, not at cost, at fair market value, even if it goes down and up, it still hopefully will appreciate over the long run and make it just less regulation, less rules, less barrier to entry for companies owning Bitcoin.
Yawn, accounting, boring. Let's get to the robot Tron stuff.
Who's this guy?
This is one that I submitted. This is a cool video about a financial advisor who only studied Bitcoin to literally find a reason to explain why it's garbage to his clients who are asking about it, and he couldn't, and now he's a full Bitcoiner, which is often the case. I'd say anybody that takes time to study Bitcoin or the crypto industry and blockchain technology as a larger whole will find that it is absolutely sound. There are problems with it, as there are with any industry. I'd say most are man-made problems and not technology problems.
Yeah, I like the shape of this guy. He looks like an absolute linebacker. Who does
Well,
he
this
play
is
for?
that's the reporter who did the story on it.
So this
There's
that guy did the story on the guy.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's a guy within a guy. Okay,
There's a guy within
can
a
we
guy.
watch
So
this for
highly
a second?
suggest. Yeah, we could. Yeah,
I don't know if does the sound come through when we play videos on here, or is that cringe?
I guess not. Monty's indicating no.
All right,
I
well
mean, I have
just
my
give
headphones in. It's not gonna work.
Okay,
take a look
so
at this guy. You can tell
we'll put it
he's
in the. We'll
reporting on
put
some
it
good
in
stuff.
the. Let's put it in the description or
The
whatever.
show notes.
Yeah, this is another thing, and I know Mark gets very upset when we talk about DeepSeek. He had to leave last time, but this is an interesting thing. We actually made a LinkedIn post about this, but DeepSeek being similar to ChatGPT, with arguably a better model. Actually, funny enough, I asked ChatGPT which was better, DeepSeek or ChatGPT. Couldn't give me a definitive answer, but did explain why DeepSeek has a very good model. But essentially, DeepSeek was asked by someone to make a price prediction on Bitcoin, and it referenced five different tools, which it's about to say what it referenced. But I know one was stock to flow. I know one was macroeconomic halving cycle. Some other stuff, logarithmic growth curve, blah blah blah, on-chain metrics. What it said is that it predicts by November Bitcoin will hit $180,000 to $220,000. So a little bit higher than what Mark and Monty potentially are predicting, but still in the same similar ballpark. And DeepSeek, obviously an AI learning model, looking at what's available.
You gonna trust this $5 bootleg model over your boys? It's crazy.
Let's see who does better. Let's put some money on it. If you lose, Mark, you have to pay DeepSeek $5.
Yo, can we ask DeepSeek who's gonna win the Super Bowl right now?
Yeah, I've actually been doing that all week. I've not DeepSeek. I won't use it because I don't want my Chinese data hacked. But I've been asking ChatGPT who they think will win the Super Bowl, and
And
I will
what are the
often
thoughts?
lead it.
Taylor Swift?
Here's the thing: you need to really direct it in different ways, and it gives you a different answer each time.
That's messed up.
The first time I asked it, it said the Chiefs, but what I noticed is it gave the Chiefs winning by the exact spread, which is almost the exact spread, which is 2, and then it had the total, like it had the exact total of what the Vegas total is, so it literally just looked at the spread and the total. It didn't have anything else.
Well, it's almost like that's the most accurate predictor.
Often
So
the case.
just quickly, Petra, the probably the biggest upgrade to Ethereum in its history, is still on brand, still on track to be late March. Some people think it's going to slip in the first week of April, but Sasano from the Daily Way still believes it's March, and he's probably my favorite Ethereum researcher, so I trust him. Not too much to talk about here. I think we should cover it as we get closer to the date, but Ethereum continues to improve, continues to become more battle tested and more resilient, and this is one of the many reasons that institutions will continue to adopt Ethereum.
Can you scroll down to the quick take real quick, just to see some of the cliff notes of this update? Did they talk about that here?
All right, we touched upon this earlier today, but Ether Realize is become the institutional marketing arm of Ethereum. They are really pushing the narrative. The reason why this is really important is that the EF, the Ethereum Foundation, wants to maintain its credible neutrality. They don't want to be seen like they're lobbying people or picking favorites between different nations. They want Ethereum to remain the decentralized settlement layer. That doesn't mean someone else can't do it. And so Ether Realize is backed by Vitalik, by the EF, by really all strong and well-known community members in Ethereum. And they're going to spread the message. One of the best things they've produced to date so far is the dashboard, the Ether Realize dashboard. This is ultrasound money on steroids. It helps convey the Ethereum narrative in traditional finance terms. You can see they're talking about cash flow. They're talking about supply and issuance. They're talking about net change. These are all annualized transaction fees. They're taking all the data that crypto already has and making it in a way that's very digestible. Oh, look at this. Did I say 60 billion? It's pretty good, Monty.
And what's ETH at?
Nice.
What is ETH at compared to that 60 billion?
ETH has 127 million worth of stable, 200 billion total capitalized.
And the majority of the stables on Tron are what, Tether?
Yeah, so what Tether did, and this is how Tether became probably the largest stablecoin, is that they would do on the ground marketing. So they had Tether representatives in Uruguay, in Argentina, in Brazil, and they'd go to all of these third world countries and literally walk, handhold them through the process. And they were doing that for 4, 5, 6 years. And that's why they have that. And the reason they did Tron is because Tron was cheaper than Ethereum. That's if there was an L2 at the time, they probably would have used that. But Tron was there first, and so that's why Justin Sun has all this money and he's able to do all this weird stuff is because he created really it is a blockchain, but most of the use is similar to like a Visa or MasterCard. It's a money moving technology.
Yeah, this is a really powerful dashboard. I actually hadn't seen this yet. I was clicking into some of the Etherealize articles and summaries and yesterday, but I did not get to this dashboard. What is your favorite? Do you have a favorite chart or favorite kind of metric that you've found on this dashboard that you think is uh, the most bullish or the most, telling the biggest picture? You think it's this first
I
one right
think
here, cash
this
flow?
the cash I think the cash flow narrative is the most important by far to people. That they understand that you can own Ethereum, you're owning a piece of the new internet, and you're getting paid to do so. That is very powerful. Very, very powerful.
And in these validator metrics, if you scroll down a little bit, why is this important to institutions? Why is this their language? Why do institutions care about these metrics? Yeah, I mean, you talked about how this is translating a lot of the data that's happening on chain and with Ethereum for institutions. But why do they actually, what metrics is it that they care about? Like why are these metrics so significant to institutions? Why is flows and essentially everything on here, why is
They
it
they
important to
care about
institutions?
decentralization and the ability to know that when they want to do something on the network, it can be executed. They don't care about high transaction costs. If someone's tokenizing $1 billion worth of bonds, they don't care that they have to pay $1,000 in a transaction fee. But they want the confirmation that when they want to withdraw the money or move the money around, that it will be done. And they don't have to worry about that, and that the system will never go down. And they've already been uh, using the EVM internally for many years, and they have familiarity with it. And they will want to plug in to the ecosystem with the most capital. So by building an L2 like Deutsche Bank's doing right now, they don't have to start from scratch. They can plug into the liquidity that's already in the EVM. They can customize L2 so it's permissioned where they can maybe only KYC people through Coinbase can get onto their L2. But the nice thing is that anyone can build an L2 in the way they want.
Got it. Great dashboard. Go check it out. Dashboard.etherealize.io. What's next on the roster? We got a lot of pieces here today.
Coinbase Institutional released some metrics. They had a report. It just shows that regardless of the price on Ethereum, the underlying metrics are continue to increase. New entrants have fundamentally diversified from overall BTC ownership. This goes back to what I was saying, that the BTC dominance and BTC ETH ratio is at a very low right now. So that if you're going to continue on that trend, a lot of catalysts would happen. But any positive catalyst for Ethereum, I think, could push that in the opposite direction. And crypto's growing. There's no two ways about it. I cannot stress it enough how important the changing regulatory climate in the US opens the floodgates for the world, and that the US leads and everyone else follows. It's not that complicated. Adding on to that, the vibe shift we talked about in Ethereum. Vitalik releases pieces every once in a while, but this was his first piece that he released that talks about Ethereum, the asset, and talks about how it's a triple point asset. And I don't think that enough people understand this. And by the time most people understand it, the asset won't be here anymore. It will be up here or even up here.
Yeah, always good to go to the straight to the source. I like all of Vitalik's literature. even though he's been taking some he's been taking a lot of flack on Twitter. I see a lot of people making memes of you guys trust this guy with your life savings, and of course again it's not, Vitalik is not fully in control of your life savings, even if you do hold ETH, because it's a decentralized project. But I'll back Vitalik any day. I think he's got an incredible mind. Maybe he's not the doesn't have the shape of a Giga Chad or that linebacker that you just saw on the news. But I think Vitalik is definitely a very, very impressive mind. If anyone has not actually read any literature from him directly, and you're just going based on headlines, you should, take a minute and read some of his words. And, I think there's probably no better way to actually understand what Ethereum is than having the creator explain it to you.
I guess next is basically MicroStrategy for Ethereum. They're running that playback book back, but instead of having convertible bonds and TradFi, it'll all be on-chain, pretty transparent. I don't know if this will work or not, and I think there's actually multiple different protocols trying this at this point. But now that, like I keep referring back, but now that Ethereum's not being prosecuted, the Ethereum economy will flourish, and I really truly believe that 2025 will be its year.
Yeah, I'm hyped about that.
This is just more on the trend of Ethereum really having 2025 is that the ecosystem has a rallying call where this is top Ethereum researchers talking about Ethereum acceleration. And I think just one thing to take away from this article is shipping faster helps Ethereum regardless of your vision for it. I think over the past few years, Ethereum has gone through some massive upgrades, which have been very important to the tokenomics, but that doesn't mean that everyone's pushing as fast as they could be. Ethereum at some point thought they won really the L1, not wars, but that they were going to be the dominant blockchain and nothing's guaranteed. And it's really good to see the ecosystem waking up and pushing innovation forward and not resting on their laurels, but really keeping the momentum going, and instead of timelines that stretch years, have timelines that stretch quarters or months. And that's the way to really think about it. It's still a startup. It's 8 years old. Hopefully it grows into an Apple, but nothing's guaranteed, and it has to keep building.
Yeah, just more rally cries, more people in the industry, all rallying together and saying they're tired of the number not going up. But again, if you focus not on the number going up, but on the actual tech, then the number will go up. And I think that is what a lot of these resources we're showing you guys are showing, that the ecosystem is focused on not just some mercenary mission of making money off this shit, but actually building the best solution.
It's also the old Apple versus Windows argument, where Windows is often thought to be better technology, but Apple was the best marketing company and had the best interface. So who actually wins? Both of them. But, hopefully Ethereum can start marketing too and create a lot of money from that.
What's going on at the White House? I see, been seeing a lot of good things come out of the White House recently. What's going on with that? Has there been some change in admin or something?
What's the deal with the White House? It's a house and it's white.
This was the executive order Trump released last week, actually, last Thursday. I mean,
Not reading
this
that
is what
essay.
crypto has been waiting for. This is what they've been asking for. Give us directions, give us clarity, give us anything except handcuffs. And this is where you come from. This is where we talked about it, Beckman, where it's publicly available source code. That's what's a blockchain. They start to define terms and make it so that we know what rules and we know what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do. And that's so bullish.
Open source.
Open source. Yeah, this is developers. This is very, I mean, I seriously, it's bull case after bull case after bull case, not just for Ethereum, but really for the whole ecosystem. People are sad about Bitcoin going down to 101K. I mean, let's remember it's January. It's literally still January. We're in the last 2 days of January. I don't see how this year could be um, very negative for crypto. It would have to take a lot of black swans, but there's just, I thought that for the past 2 years, all the fundamental ground was being laid, but now it's like, coming straight from the lead office in America, this stuff is being pushed forward. So it's incredible. We've really come a long way, and it feels like we're still at the beginning, still on day one, as Jesse Pollock from Base says.
Bitwise wrote about, just adding on to executive order, they're wondering if this could be, I mean, this is how you know we're in a bull market, where everyone's like, okay, the 4-year cycle might be over. Let's increase our price targets. You have to be cognizant of this as an investor. But they do have an interesting thought piece on if this new rules, regulations, all this stuff could either extend the cycle or erase the cycles. I personally don't believe it, but people are starting to talk, and it's something to at least be aware of.
Yeah,
It is something that sorry, but go ahead, Mark.
No, I was just gonna say, can you scroll up to that chart that I wanted to see that chart of the 4-year cycles, and then just hold that up for a second, and then you can go ahead, Beckham.
Yeah, I mean, this has just been a recurring theme, right? And this happens every cycle. Are the cycles finished, right? You hear about the super cycle. It was supposed to be last time. What's interesting is each time, or at least in the last cycle, in the 2021 cycle, it was really brought down by the two black swan events, which were FTX and Terra Luna. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting. It could be coincidental timing, but maybe the cycles are done. Maybe they're not. Hopefully, number just goes up forever.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see where everyone kind of pinpoints their cycles. Like, I know in previous we've kind of talked about our 2016 to 2020 being a cycle, and then starting again at 2020 to 2024, and then starting again at 2024 to 2028, versus they've actually got these shifted by about a year or two, which is just interesting. Still operating in 4 years at a time though. I love the Bitwise team though. I think I saw that they just announced they're up to 100 people on their team, which is awesome. I'm curious to see what Bitwise's performance is compared to BTC, and compared to ETH as well, as well as the rest of the competition.
Okay. This is a cool video that I saw on X this week of if you started DCAing every week, $50 into Bitcoin since 2018 versus into NASDAQ since 2018, you'd be up by over $100,000 if you had chosen Bitcoin. Just goes to show two things. One, we are investing in the best possible investments that are out there. Could be life-changing money if you play it right and you play it smart. But two, dollar cost averaging over time is proven to be the best way to invest. It's the best way to get money in. It's a long-term investment that you want to see continually grow over time. There is volatility in this market. Sometimes you're going to catch it very high. Sometimes you're going to catch it very low. But if you can average it out over time with the same amount of dollars coming in, then you will be one happy camper.
I love camping, especially on chain.
Great chart. And then I guess to wrap it up, everyone owns MicroStrategies.
How is that? What is this?
Well, it's indirect Bitcoin exposure where they invested into the industry. I mean, if you think of MicroStrategy as like a proxy Bitcoin investment, it turns out that this sovereign. I mean, what else are you buying MicroStrategy for? Am I right? No, but Norway's sovereign wealth fund. Everybody's touching it now, and they're touching it in ways that are still early. It still shows how early we are, right? Still, when you think of the institutions and large funds that are buying Bitcoin, they're not actually buying Bitcoin or crypto. They're buying Bitcoin or crypto exposure through other ways. And so until people start actually buying the tokens themselves and custodying it themselves, we still have a long, long way to go. And 355 million is literally a drop in the bucket for a sovereign wealth fund like Norway's. really cool news. Hope they buy more. Hope they start to buy the real thing. If they want help with their self-custody wallets, hit up Advantage Blockchain. We've got the solutions for you.
Exciting to see. All right. Well,
All right.
who's
Well,
got the close notes? Who's got the best not financial advice that I should walk away here with?
again, this is not financial advice, but you should look at the rest of our podcasts. We're always having fun on these. We're always providing good information. We're trying to give people the resources to do this themselves. We want to be the largest provider of great information to the public. We exist so you can be successful on chain. We are all blockchain educators, investors, researchers, users, and we are, we've made every mistake. We've looked, behind every door and nook and cranny and you can think of. So, we just want to provide you with good information. We have a lot of podcasts that we've recorded in the past. Highly suggest listening to them. I would go to abfund.substack.com to look at some of the written pieces that we put out, which are great. We have a monthly newsletter, and follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on X, follow us on anywhere you can get your information. Warpcast, because we are there and we are bringing the data to you. So this has been another great episode of the UEV, that's User Extractable Value Podcast. January 30th, Advantage Blockchain out.